Well, a lot has happened in a week of professional wrestling and WWE in general, from Survivor Series to this week's SmackDown, and the truth has finally been revealed from the man himself, CM Punk, when he was on episode 226 of Colt Cabana's The Art of Wrestling, stating his reasons for departing from WWE. And the man had a lot to say. But that said, let's begin with the review for this year's Survivor Series. That was free on the WWE Network, except for the UK. Aha! The tag team title match could have been prolonged a little bit more, as this was too brief considering you had 4 decent teams. But Miz and Mizdow winning the gold? I like that. Plus, it's Sandow's first championship in the WWE, and he's more over than The Miz. Not that that's hard. This was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and Natalya ends up stealing the show and getting the win for her team, making a complete washout against Team Paige. But I will give the anti-diva this. She battled hard, even when she got outdone. This was pretty much a car wreck, as the two dished out punishment that seemed reminiscent of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Dude Love from Unforgiven 98. Ugh, man, that was brutal. They were rough, physical, and brutal with each other. Shame it ended via DQ, but I think the Lunatic Fringe got a measure of revenge for all that he's been through. $20 just to prepare for a match? Well, that's 20 seconds of patience I don't have. And surprise, surprise, this match sucked and Nikki won. Next! Two things. One, the Authority won. Hallelujah! And two, Sting! This was a culmination of 2 years' worth of storylines and contrived angles to see a diluted corporation angle finally be put out to pasture. Ziggler oversold, and through the help of Sting, he got the cover on Rollins. 1, 2, 3... Thank you, bye, Authorita is gone! Not the greatest Survivor Series ever, but knowing that the Authority angle is done and dusted made this pay-per-view worth it. And Ziggler had one of the best performances of his career and became the sole survivor. Now, WWE, use some logic. Push him! Survivor Series gets a C. And now, we'll move on to this week's SmackDown.
I have something to say.
Miz TV segment with Miz and his stunt double interviewing the big bottle of NyQuil that is the Big Show. 2 minutes in and I feel like I'm already going to be put to sleep. Joy. Big Show starts boring, and then the reprieve in Daniel Bryan rushes to the ring. Yes! And he's in charge of SmackDown tonight? Yes! 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 Miz says, please stop doing that, you're stealing my thunder. No, Mizdow's doing that already and doing it so well. Bryan makes a match for the United States Championship considering Rusev refused to take the Pledge of Allegiance, so he's now in a company-wide battle royale for the United States Championship that will also feature the Tag Team Champions, Eric Rowan and The Big Show. Okay, this is how you kick off Friday night. A huge test for the champion that saw him win by super kicking Swagger off the apron. I'm going to give Creative some star points. This actually made the US title felt like it meant something again. And it's been a long ass time since the United States Championship has meant something. Probably not since the days of John Cena, Daniel Bryan. Even when Miz held the US belt, it kind of meant something. Whenever Kofi's held it. And to when the late Eddie Guerrero had the belt when it first became reactivated 11 years ago at Vengeance 2003. You know, Eddie could make anything feel worth it. Whether it was the tag team titles or in his one reign as WWE champion. But Eddie Guerrero, always the greatest. The humbling of Kane continues as he's handing out t-shirts at the concession stand. I like this. Kane is upset. Oh really? I'm happy.
I have something to say.
Oh goody, creepy Dundee decides to monologue. Somebody help me. He talks about angels and the idea of Ambrose and himself in a tables, ladders and chairs match at TLC. Okay, a crazy person is trying to intimidate a crazy person. Does anybody not see the fallacy in this? Ugh. The John Cena of the Divas division decides to grace our presence, much to our chagrin. I find it inconsistent, lazy, annoying and lackluster that Brie and Nikki are besties again, like their huge breakup in the summer never happened and meant nothing. Inconsistency in WWE is a consistency, if that makes any sense to you. This contest proved nothing more that Nikki can't work a decent match to save her life. Other than strength and good looks, she's not good for anything. She's no Trish Stratus, Lita, nor AJ Lee. And I'm calling it like I see it. The girl cannot wrestle. I go so far to say I'd rather have Kelly back. Come at me.
I have something to say.
Nikki wants to talk. Oh, good Lord, no. Help us. Anything is better than the future Mrs. No-Cell. She narks on AJ Lee and says she's worked harder than her. No, you haven't. And that she's a real Divas champion. No, you're not. See, for starters, AJ can do promos and can actually wrestle. You can't. Sorry. AJ's had enough and guns for the ring, and Brie ends up taking the punishment. Nikki yells out that she's a real survivor. Girl, please. You've only got that belt because your boyfriend's John Cena. We're not stupid. One of the more physical matches I've seen as of late, and could have gone either way. There was no conclusion to this match as Kane caused a disqualification and then decided to get physical with Ryback by dishing out more punishment via a steel chair. A new day? A new stable? A new push? We'll see. A very competent debut performance by the new stable, with Xavier Woods getting the pin on Heath Slater. Not bad. I'm impressed. Daniel Bryan interview. He's missed the universe. We've missed you, Bryan. And that he's signed a chair match between Kane and Ryback. Brutal would be one word to describe what is going to happen there. Oof. This was worthy of being the main event, and Ziggler only won via countout, which means the belt cannot change hands unless there is a stipulation made allowing the belt to do so. Dolph pulled out another amazing performance and should have become champion, in my view. For a post-Survivor Series show, this hit all the right notes and gave us a satisfying new beginning. Without Triple H and Stephanie. Ah, good times be had. SmackDown gets a B. Now, I am well informed of the events that took place on Colt Cabana's The Art of Wrestling, which saw, had CM Punk breaking his silence since he left WWE the day after the 2014 Royal Rumble. Now, what I'm going to say in this, I'm not going to try and make this like a, huge bashing WWE promo, because there's really no need to. People and organizations that get bad press have brought it upon themselves purely through the art of their own neglect and just poor business practice. But the things that Punk said in the interview, that genuinely shocked, appalled, and disgusted me. Now, most of us had known for some time, and we even covered this back on RDR last year in Season 6 and Season 7, Punk was not at his best. We could tell something was off. It was just like, stiffness and whatnot, but Punk always managed to sell it like a pro. Even when he was hurt, he gave it 110, even 120%, because he is the best in the world, as his t-shirt often says. But knowing that he was working with concussions, cracked ribs, torn knees, and then what turned out to be a full-blown staph infection on his back, how this man is even fully healthy today is a miracle in its own right, and I'm glad that Punk is walking around now with his health and his sanity in check. So, Punk, if you happen to see this video, I'd just like to say, I'm very grateful that you've got your health and your sanity, and you're living your life the way you want to, and you're happy in what you're doing. More power to you, respect, and you're one of my personal heroes. I don't often go, throwing a lot of praise around, but you, good sir, earned a lot of respect from me, and I'm kind of glad you cleared the air, because the things you had to say and, how you stood up for yourself and the principles you had, you actually showed me what you were actually made of, and I'm proud to call myself a fan of yours, and I think you're an amazing person. And not to try and, not to try and sound too preachy, but AJ's a lucky girl to have you. She really is. But the fact that they didn't take proper enough care of Punk when he, in any other sporting profession in the world, or any other profession, you know, that maybe just for entertainment, they would have not allowed CM Punk to return to performing, or, you know, just to go back to work until he had been signed off, was 100% clear to go, and just to say that he was medically ready. If that had been in the Premier League over here in the UK, let's just say it's 1997, and Dennis Wise for Chelsea has got these similar kind of problems, you know, had maybe cracked ribs and a staph infection. There is no way in good conscience that Ruud Gullit, who was the Chelsea coach at the time, would have even allowed Dennis to go on the pitch, because, well, for one thing, that's putting your talent and your performance and your team players at risk. And if something had happened on that field, then Dennis Wise's family could have sought legal action that would have put the coach in a bad situation, and would have put the actual team itself and the back staff in a bad situation. So the fact that WWE actually made Punk compete and actually have him on painkillers and antibiotics for a 3 to 4 month period, when he should have been put on the sidelines and say, no, you're not coming back until you're ready, which is what he wanted to do anyway. He was sick and tired of feeling nauseous, being in pain, and not being allowed to heal up properly. It's just like, you know there's something wrong when stuff like that happens. And, you know, I knew he came back too soon last year. I mean, I heard the match he had with Jericho at Payback was, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, it was a 14 from what I heard. But, you know, you can't make someone compete when they're that messed up physically. I began to think, if that had been John Cena, Shawn Michaels, or Stone Cold back in the day, there's no way they would have gone out to the ring. It sounded like to me during the interview that Punk knew what made more sense in regards to booking, or creative, call it what you will, ideas and innovations that should be done for matches and storylines in WWE, because he knows what the fans want. And it kind of further proves that not just Vince McMahon himself, but, well, and other people don't know what the fans want, because they keep feeding them the same regurgitated tripe that's been done for like the last 6 to 7 years, where, you know, Cena's supposedly still the go-to guy, even though CM Punk actually outsold John Cena in merchandise sales when he was the good guy, or as a babyface, well, good guy to those who don't follow wrestling terms, and a heel for the villain, the bad guy, the douche. And I just don't understand it. You know, and then to fire him on his wedding day, which I thought, what? And what makes it even worse, it was done via FedEx, and I'm like, oh, hello, 1995. I do believe I'm hearing an echo of WCW firing Stone Cold Steve, stunning Steve Austin, as he was known back in those days. Granted, Austin got fired over the phone, but he still had termination papers sent to him via FedEx. And to me, that's very cowardly, in my estimation. Now, like Punk, I'm not going to go on an anti-WWE tirade or a bashing thing. I'm just calling it like I see it. I mean, if that was done in any other kind of business practice today, you know, people would have the book thrown at them. I just don't understand the mentality of that. I really don't. And it also makes you question what else is going on behind those closed doors, because the fact that everyone else gets made to take the drug test everyone else does, and then as soon as Punk said to Triple H, "Have you?" it goes quiet. It's like, okay then. I'm going to give Punk a lot of credibility with the way he handled going home, because I think at that stage, not just, physically, mentally, he's had enough and he's burnt out and he's just like, what am I doing? I think it was at a point where, I know I'm using Eddie Guerrero as an example, but Eddie Guerrero got to such a point in WCW where he hated wrestling and he wanted to go home. And when you hate something you love, that's when you know something's wrong. And I think Punk was just at that point where it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'll give him credibility, walked up to Vince McMahon and told him, right square in the face, the cold hard facts, and he wasn't going to do this anymore. Now, I don't want to narc on Stone Cold, because Stone Cold's one of my heroes from back in the day, but at least Punk walked up to McMahon and actually told him straight up, I'm going home. Don't get me wrong, as a WWE fan, I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was one of my reasons for getting into WWE, but at least Punk didn't just walk out without so much as a word. Yeah. And it's the other little things where he gave the other side to the rude fan situation, or the fan claimed he was rude. It's just like, just comes along and says, hey, Phil, sign this. And he's just like, I'm sorry, what? And, that's just basic common courtesy. I mean, his mindset was, look, if he'd have just come over and say, excuse me, sir, would you be so kind as to autograph this baseball cap for me? Or, is it alright if I can have my picture taken with you? And he said, and then goes to say, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. If you show some polite common courtesy, I'll give you some polite common courtesy. And I think he was well within his rights. And just FYI, people, he's not a quieter. I'm sorry, but I find that amusing. But no, I think he handled that situation well. I do think there does need to be some kind of union now in professional wrestling, because the fact that Punk could have died from that staph infection disturbs me. Again, if there had been any other sporting profession in the world, or any other kind of profession that involved something physical to do, and he was walking around with that, no one in good conscience would allow him to come back until he was fully ready. Yeah, an interesting week indeed in professional wrestling. The Authority gone. Good SmackDown. Awesome. And Punk finally airing everything out just to say, you know, this is exactly what happened. And the man gained even more respect from me. He really is the best in the world. Yep. Well, folks, from this extended bout of SmackBack for this week, I'm going to say good night from the night, and 2 weeks away from the season 1 finale until I go for my Christmas break. Gotta take a break sometime, folks. As for when season 2 will kick off, it will probably kick off just a few weeks before the 2015 Royal Rumble. And let's just hope in good conscience they don't give us Randy Orton versus John Cena again. But anyway, good night from the night.